We often joke about trying to find a unicorn program that works for every student we might have in our homeschool. BiblioPlan comes close to being that unicorn. Can all of my students in different grades work from the same program? Yes. If my first grader starts the program, will there still be new information for them to learn in high school? Yes. Is there flexibility in the schedule and the materials? Absolutely. I'm Rebecca, one of the consultants here at Rainbow Resource Center, and I have had a blast diving deep into the newly updated version of BiblioPlan. I want to take you into the curriculum options and show you what this program has to offer you and your homeschool. BiblioPlan is a 4-year chronological history program for homeschoolers written by homeschoolers. Much like some fan-favorite programs like Mystery of History and Story of the World, BiblioPlan is a 4-year cycle history program taking students through 4 time eras: ancients, medieval, early modern, and modern, allowing any student from kindergarten through 12th grade to study history together as one whole family unit. Providing content for 3 days a week for 32 weeks, you will utilize as little or as much material as desired. This leads to new information being provided every time a student cycles through the program. BiblioPlan is a Christian program that takes both a classical and Charlotte Mason approach to learning. By breaking up students into their trivium levels and asking appropriate questions, that classical Socratic methodology is being applied. At the same time, the inclusion of good literature at every trivium stage brings in the Charlotte Mason approach to the learning style. This program requires medium teacher involvement. Lessons are thoroughly outlined and prepped for you in advance, but at younger levels, your involvement during the lesson will require more of your time. As a multi-sensory program, there is something that is going to speak to any type of learner. Finally, there is huge flexibility in what components you and your homeschoolers want to add to this program, as most components are optional. Originally designed as an additional component to bring Christian history alongside Story of the World curriculum, homeschool mom Julia and her family developed a program that can be integrated into several history curricula. With the ongoing improvement updates happening with BiblioPlan, the program is complete with its own textbooks, workbooks, and other components to be used on its own. Speaking of components, there are many. The Lesson Plans Plus book, textbooks, student workbooks, maps, timelines, coloring books, and hands-on activity book, and the discussion guide. Each grade level, littles, middles, upper middles, and advanced are given their own book lists, video options, workbook, and resources. These levels are determined by your student's reading level, and you may have multiple students all in one level of this program. That is the beauty and flexibility of BiblioPlan. Let's say a student starts with ancients in kindergarten. They would progress through medieval and early modern with the littles and graduate to middles for the modern era and so on. If a student started in ancients as a 7th grader, they'd have an option to start in middles or upper middles depending on their reading aptitude. If not ready for upper middles in 7th grade, proceed with middles and reconsider upper middles again for 8th. If still not ready, a student could complete 8th grade with middles and jump straight into advanced in 9th grade. The real power of this program is that you can implement this program with multiple students, all at different grades, simultaneously, and they can learn together. A student can start with any era, at any grade level, and move forward from there. Do not feel overwhelmed or frightened off by this list, because you are building the curriculum with these components. The only required item is the Lesson Plans Plus, formerly known as the Family Guide. This is the heart of the program and provides the entire scope and sequence for every age range for the entire year. Provided are book lists, video suggestions, weekly schedules, additional components, and how-tos on adding BiblioPlan to other programs. Using the Lesson Plans Plus as your launching point, you decide whether to utilize a spine program. A spine is a resource, like Story of the World or Mystery of History, that provides the structure to build your curriculum on. The spine will function as the central component everything else is connected to. Your other option is building your history curriculum upon the BiblioPlan textbooks. with their components. Choosing to utilize the program independently requires the textbooks. These are hardcover, full color, and well-organized texts. They include photographs, charts, vocabulary, and a wealth of historical information. This information is given in color-coordinated highlights to help identify biblical content, people, quotes, vocab words, and locations. Biblical and church history is going to parallel world history as you read through each lesson. For example, when you learn about the fall of Israel, you are introduced to the early civilization of the Greeks around the Aegean Sea and Greek mythology. There are 2 textbooks utilized in this program. The reading level of your students will determine which textbook to use. Remember the Days is for K through 8th grade, students depending on your students' reading level, and will require read aloud time for younger years and self-guided reading as they get older. In the Ancients volume, they have updated and restructured the 8th through 12th grade text. Consider the Years is the textbook for this volume. The 2 companion books in the 3 other eras are your students' text. The target grade range is 8th through 12th grade, depending on their reading level. At this point, you get to start building your unique curriculum with the components. Cool history books are consumable student workbooks that will be necessary for each student in the program. Here is where you find the comprehension aspect of the program. There are 4 levels of these books: littles for grades K through 2nd, middles for grades 3rd through 8th, upper middles for grades 7th through 9th, and advanced for grades 9th through 12th. The middles and upper middles designation will be determined by your students' reading level and what textbook they are utilizing for the program. These workbooks cater to your students' capabilities and reading levels. The Cool History books ask questions about the textbook readings and have students working on their comprehension and writing skills. Answering questions like, imagine that you are an impoverished Babylonian and that you have just been sold into slavery for failing to pay your debts. What is the longest your slavery can last? Questions like these ask students to recall what they are reading and think about historical situations themselves. Littles and middles will utilize the Remember the Days textbook alongside their own workbook, while upper middles and advanced will utilize Consider the Years textbook or companion books to complete workbook assignments. Upper middle and advanced have questions that span from fill in the blank, short answer, short essay, to research options. While the minor ongoing updates don't affect compatibility between components, BiblioPlan is currently undergoing a major revision of each of its volumes. Ancients is the most recent and complete major update of the 4-volume program, which occurred in 2022. The major updates to the other eras will reflect the format of the updated Ancients volume. Modern is the next volume receiving this overall major update. This will bring the 2 companion books into one hardcover textbook with a new format. This will also impact the components for the upper middles and advanced students, as well as the family guide, which will transition into the Lesson Plans Plus book. When these major updates take place, it will make previous editions of components within that volume non-compatible. For Ancients, any edition prior to 2022 will not work with the current edition components. For Moderns, this transition year is expected to be 2024. Other volumes are scheduled for major updates, in 2025 with Medieval volume and in 2026 with Early Modern volume. Keep in mind these dates are always subject to change, and we will work to keep our families aware of these changes. The maps are catered to your middles on up aged students and provide mapping and geography activities. Students will be coloring, labeling, and exploring the world in the era and area of what they are studying. These are consumable books for each student. Some maps will focus on land locations and identifications, while others have students coloring oceans, seas, rivers, and lakes. Each map will have helpful need-to-knows to assure students' success while mapping. There are challenge questions regarding geography for each map. When learning about Hammurabi's kingdom, the challenge question has students identifying the modern city where the ruins of Babylon stand. Timelines are a wonderful component to add in for students, as they cut out full-color photos and paste them to one of two timelines: world history and a biblical or church history timeline. You can keep these in the spiral-bound book or take them out and make a linear timeline on the wall. The timeline is a great way to visually document your work through history. The coloring book and hands-on activity book are great additions for your littles and those kinesthetic, tactile learners. The coloring pages are wonderful tools for students to utilize while listening to the readings or while their older siblings are working on a project. The hands-on activity book provides over 200 activities to get your students participating in their history lessons. Everything from cooking and engineering to games and craft ideas are found in this book, and you choose to use as little or as much as you and your family want. Build a shadoof to understand how ancient people watered their crops, and then make some edible mummies to enjoy. One of the final components you can add to your BiblioPlan program is the discussion guide. Broken up into the trivium stages, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, you are equipped to ask good questions. Questions are broken up by trivium level for every chapter and specific for each section in the chapter, so you know exactly which questions to ask to cover what your student has read that day. Easily add this to dinner conversation or a car ride to keep learning happening throughout your day. Now that you have chosen what approach you are taking, either the standalone with the text or with the spine approach, the next steps you take in planning will help you set your schedule for the rest of the year. Decide the appropriate and additional literature you will include for each unit. The Lesson Plans Plus or Family Guide has extensive book lists for each age group and a wonderful annotated book list at every unit break to help you and your kids make your literature selections. Note that it is not expected to read every single book they offer, and the authors have their top picks for additional readings. Based on your students' writing capabilities, adding dictation, short answer, and research-based writing assignments found in the Lesson Plans book and the Cool History books add a level of comprehension to the course. When studying the Code of Hammurabi, advanced students are asked to research laws 221 through 223 and write a brief outline of the benefits and risks. Finally, ask yourself what optional components I will add for my students. The hand-on activities, maps, timelines, notebooking, coloring book, or discussion guide will add to your weekly scheduled studies. The addition of any of these elements will fill out your 3 days of history study each week. The Lesson Plans Plus is the holy grail of this program, filled with suggestions, options, and plans for a standalone course or working with several spine programs. This one book will guide you and each of your students through your entire year of history. The pace and schedule are set and consistent throughout the entire program, broken down by grade range, student capabilities, and what you have decided to add to the program. Let's look at week 17 in the Ancients volume together. The Fall of Israel and the Early Greeks, Part 1. Remember, this is a 3-day-a-week history program. Each week is scheduled with the components needed and used per grade level. On day 1, students will be diving into their appropriate textbooks. Remember the days for K through 8th, or consider the years for 8th through 12th. You are provided with the sections students are to read and used as a read-aloud for day 1. Students' readings covered the line of Jehu for the younger students, and They Shall Be Wanderers section for the older students. After the textbook reading is accomplished, provided as a list of the supplemental components that you can choose to add. For this week, on day 1, these items are the coloring book for your littles, notebooking for your older students, and the discussion guide. In addition to the textbook readings, every unit is provided with an annotated book list to help you and your students choose the additional literature you would like to complete. During your week, remember to include the literature you have selected. Longer chapter books have been broken down for your reference on how far you should read in that given week. For example, in the high school grades, if you have selected the 5th mountain for your literature component, by the end of week 17, your student should have read 2/3 of this book. Day 2. Students are doing further reading in their textbooks, looking at world history sections along with the biblical history sections in their respected texts. Supplemental components include timeline figures work, notebooking, and the discussion guide questions. A nice way to use these discussion guide questions are around the dinner table as a family or in the car running errands. This guide helps keep conversations and learning happening throughout your day. To keep family time and learning going, there are family read aloud options such as God King and Tales from the Odyssey. Your final day, day 3. Students' textbook readings are focused on world geography and history in both levels, finishing the respected chapters in their books. Upon finishing the chapter readings, it's time to work on supplemental components. This is now the time that grade-level cool history questions can be used, map work for your older students, get some hands-on learning through the hands-on history activity book, and of course, the discussion questions from the discussion guide. Now is also a great time to utilize writing ideas for further comprehension for your writing-capable students. They will be answering questions like, imagine you are a Jew from Samaria in 725 BC, and that your city has just been surrounded by the Assyrians. Describe your life inside Samaria during this 3-year-long siege. Writing prompts like these are asking students to draw information from what they just learned and apply it in creative ways. You are not limited to these activities, readings, and writing options. The Lesson Plans Plus book equips you with more than enough resources and options to add movies, flashcards, short videos, audios, and a plethora of literature to cater this program to you and your students. BiblioPlan has the flexibility to become as little or as much as you want to include. You have the ability to tailor the course to the best way each of your students learn and keep each student from kindergarten to 12th grade learning from the same lesson. High school students have the added benefit of additional credits earned through this program. This credit breakdown is found in the Lesson Plans Plus book and is different for each volume of the program. When looking at this program from an aerial view, it is easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of components. However, knowing that this program is designed to be tailored to what your students need and what your family is capable of allows for a deeper understanding of how each component benefits and adds something to your history studies. The whole consultant team at Rainbow Resource Center loves to talk curriculum needs with you and your students. We can be reached Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 Central Standard Time, by phone at 888-841-3456, or online through our live chat, and by emailing us at consultants@rainbowresource.com.